Darth Vader's castle and the Fortress Inquisitorius look strikingly similar. But what if that was just a coincidence? Fortress Inquisitorius began construction on a moon in the Mustafar system soon after the formation of the Empire, and by the year 14 BBY had been made the primary headquarters of the Inquisitors. Before that, the primary base of operations for the Inquisitors had been on Coruscant in the factory districts. Now, while they shifted their primary base of operations, both locations essentially served as two separate headquarters for the Inquisitor program. Meanwhile, Darth Vader's castle on Mustafar, Fortress Vader, didn't begin construction until the same year, 14 BBY. This was because Vader had caused the death of a senator during some chaos on Coruscant, and after being scolded by Palpatine, Vader requested his own world as his seat of power. So, Palpatine gave him Mustafar. In addition to this, they used the mask of the ancient Sith Lord named Darth Momin. Momin had been an artist in his time, but more so defined the quality of art by how much death it caused. He had created a mask, and before he died, he imbued said mask with his own evil presence. So, anyone who wore the mask would become corrupted by the spirit of Darth Momin. Palpatine recovered this mask from the Jedi Temple and gifted it to Vader so that he could use Momin's expertise in constructing his castle. Momin had had his own ulterior motives, hoping to build a monument to the dark side that was powerful enough to open a portal to the dark side itself and resurrect his physical form. But regardless of this, the construction process to build Vader's castle took 2 years. Momin's mask would be placed on a number of individuals over that time, so that he could continue his work and so that Vader could converse with Momin. They had created 8 different iterations of the castle, of which all were failures. It wasn't until the 9th try that they built the castle we are familiar with, the one that became Fortress Vader. So, what does this have to do with Fortress Inquisitorius? During the construction process of Vader's castle, the Inquisitor fortress on the moon Nur had been already completed, and in fact, once again, had begun its construction well before Fortress Vader's. What is interesting about this is that according to the Dawn of the Rebellion visual dictionary, Fortress Inquisitorius was designed to complement Fortress Vader. How can the Inquisitor's fortress complement something that wasn't built yet, or even conceptualized? Well, there are actually 2 potential answers to this that can both be correct at the same time. Firstly, 2 Imperial architects had been assigned to accompany Darth Vader to Mustafar to begin work on his castle. Based on some dialogue and a hologram, it appears that the initial designs had already been drafted for a potential base for Darth Vader in the past, which would not be surprising considering Palpatine's tendency to plan things out so far in advance. Secondly, Fortress Inquisitorius appears to have gone through some changes over time as well. Looking closely, it appears that at some point the tip of Fortress Inquisitorius was conjoined, rather than having 2 tongs at the top. This could just be conjecture based on an incomplete view of the base, but in comparing the images of the fortress in the past with the most recent depiction of it, it looks to have been updated. So, these 2 potential answers combined, I theorize that Fortress Inquisitorius was designed to mimic the original draft of what the Imperials wanted Vader's castle to look like, but due to the interference of Momin, the final product came out to look a little bit different. Then, Fortress Inquisitorius underwent further construction to more closely resemble Fortress Vader. That's my theory anyway. Furthermore, Palpatine may have had the construction for Fortress Inquisitorius started before Order 66 even took place. As we see in Tales of the Empire, Barriss Offee is taken to the fortress shortly after Operation Nightfall, where we see it in the early stages of being built. Considering that the fortress has a huge foundation underwater, and what we see is only above water, they very, very likely began construction well before. Which would make sense, considering Palpatine had been planning the Inquisitorius program at least as far back as around the first year of the Clone Wars. Even more evidence of this is that, as depicted in Jedi Fallen Order, Trilla Suduri, or as she eventually becomes known, the Second Sister, had been taken to Fortress Inquisitorius to be tortured and turned to the dark side after being captured during Order 66. So again, this base had to have been in a completed enough state for this to be possible. But that will do it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching. And if you like the content I've been posting, consider subscribing or commenting to let me know how I'm doing. I like making videos and talking Star Wars, and I'd like to keep doing it, so feedback would definitely be appreciated. Anyway, thanks again. Hopefully I'll see you in the next video.